Hello, it's July 7th, and I'm going to give you a quick update of my permaculture garden. There's a few things I'm really excited about right now. I got a sugar apple here. You can see that. It's an exotic fruit. And the leaves have medicinal quality, possibly help fight cancer as well. Here's callaloo. It's used in a lot of Caribbean cuisines. It's kind of like tastes like a spinach. And all around the perimeter here you see sweet potato. Wow, the cassava is really growing right now. As you can see, I have several cassava plants growing. It has a large root vegetable that you can eat. There's arrowroot right here. Around this area we have Seminole pumpkin. And there's a loquat tree is doing well. I had to put some stockings around these melons, and but they're doing well. There were some worms that were getting to them, so I put this around it and they seem to be fine. I also tried some spinosad, which is a compound that's in bacteria that is basically a neurotoxin for the worms and the bugs, and I just started using that and it seems to be doing well. It's an organic substance. So we have pigeon pea here, more callaloo, and this is a hyacinth bean. It's just a good ground cover. White sapote over here. I don't expect any fruit from that probably this year. Over here we have more arrowroot. And we have a really large sugar baby watermelon here, and another small one that's about to start growing. And you can see I trellised the melons here. There's cantaloupe, and then we got honeydew. Again, I put them in the stockings. Seem to be doing well, but I did lose a lot to worms. And again, I'm using the spinosad as well as neem oil now to reduce any powdery mildew as well as worms that were boring into the melons. We have tomatillo here. I didn't expect them to fruit until mid to late July, so it looks like they're pretty much on target. And we'll get them in another month or so. And I have some pole beans growing up here. I believe these are the rattlesnake beans, and they're just growing up the bamboo trellising that I constructed a few months ago. Over here we have a long Asian eggplant. It's just starting to grow. As you can see here, I zoom in, and once it starts growing, as you can see, there's a lot of flowers here and a lot of bugs pollinating. So it's supposedly a great producer. We have the peppers here. You know, this is a perfect green pepper you can pick, but I've been waiting for them to turn red and getting some red bell peppers, which I love even more. We have black-eyed peas here, and these are ready to pick, so I just waited for them to be dry so I can take them out, and then later they can be used for cooking. You can eat the green ones and just open up and just eat them raw, either way. Again, like I said, we got Seminole pumpkin here. My friend gave me some ginger, so now I have a ginger plant. And so down beneath, I believe it's a rhizome, will just keep growing and multiplying, and then I'll harvest it later on in the year. Okay, so I have a lot of trees growing. Some of them I planted in the ground, others I just have in pots right now. The mulberry's doing well. I have the fig, and the persimmon, but none of that is producing right now. Still very young. I have here a pomegranate flower. I thought this was the fruit because it was so thick, but then it started opening up, and it should produce a very beautiful flower that we'll look at later this year. So this is lemon balm, which is used for medicinal purposes. And what I was amazed to see was this basil. I believe this is the Greek columnar basil. So obviously it's a big column of probably about, it's at least 3 feet tall. And it's really good. I put it on pizza the other day. We have the Okinawa spinach, which is growing really, really well. After putting some neem oil on it, it's been free of aphids, and it's growing wonderfully. This has some anti-inflammatory properties. It grows really well in the summer, and I use it in cooking all the time as a spinach. The lemons are doing well. They're not turning yet. I only allowed about 6 of them to grow, and this one might be turning a little bit. I only allowed about 6 of them to grow so the nutrients and the energy could go into them and make them larger. This nopal cactus, it tastes really good. All you have to do is just slice the outside and take these little notches out here, and then you can just chop it up. You can put it in a salsa, or you can also slice it and grill it, or just eat it raw. Just got a mango tree the other day. This is the kit mango, and it produces later in the year than most mangoes, so maybe around like November, late October, November. I also have the Patangatuba, which is a Brazilian tree, and that's just started growing. I probably won't get anything till next year. As well as I have elderberry here, and then this is Okinawa. This is Malabar spinach, which is vining, and it'll probably cover up the whole side of my fence within probably the next month. So I'll be planting this shortly. And we have a Java Takaba plant, and there's another mulberry right there. All of these I still have to plant. And we have Suriname cherry tree, which I also will need to plant later on as well. So there's a lot of trees, and that's part of permaculture, is having perennial plants. In particular, trees are definitely perennial. They're obviously going to be around year after year, and they will be producing abundance of fruit, more than I could ever eat on my own. So very important to have those in a permaculture food forest garden. You can see here the false roselle, the cranberry hibiscus, is growing huge. I've already had to cut it back several times. I've given cuttings to friends, and so those are growing in yards all around Orlando right now. They take really well from a cutting, and they have a wonderful citrusy taste. They kind of look like an illegal plant, but they're red, and I don't have any problems with anyone talking about that. So we have okra here. Star of David okra, it's growing really well. The okra is just starting to branch out right now, so once that happens, they're just going to be growing, producing okra like crazy. This I had found in a pot. I didn't even plant it, but I just transplanted it into the garden here, and now I'm getting these beautiful, I think they're like plum tomatoes, and they're doing really well. I'm not having any problems with pests with these, and maybe because I grew it from seed here, I don't know, but they're just growing like crazy, and I should expect them probably ripening within the next week or two. Now you're probably asking, what are all these yellow flowers, these big columns here? And this is the loofah. The loofah is what makes those sponges that you see in the health stores. So I just wait for them to turn yellow, and then you can either just peel them or soak them in water for a few days, and then it will get rid of the outer skin. And the inside, you're going to have the beautiful loofah sponge that you can use for exfoliating, and scrubbing in the shower, scrubbing pots and pans. If you get these really small, if you get them when they first start growing, they are like a very light cucumber, and you can slice them up and saute them, eat them. They taste between like a cucumber and a zucchini squash. Alright, so the loofah gourd will grow very, very tall. I have some of it growing on top of my orange tree, and so that's probably about 12 feet tall, and it can grow a lot higher. It's great to have vining plants in the permaculture garden. There's many different plants that you can use for vining. Like this here, I have the Indian gherkin cucumber. This is just a tiny one here. I have a larger one down here. I've been picking them every day and eating them. They're really good. There's some down here as well. And this has been growing and producing really well for me. Also the chayote squash and the passion flower. Even tomatoes, I mean, they technically are vining, and they're really good climbers. So there's a lot that you can, vining plants that you can grow in the garden. I have a lot of peppers. I got cayenne peppers growing. The summer garden is great for growing different types of peppers. Got some hot banana peppers here. As we go through, we find that there's a true Roselle. This is, I guess, the cousin of what we saw earlier. Again, it has its very tangy, citrusy taste, and it produces wonderful flower buds that can be dried and later used for a tea. The local Dandelion Cafe has one of my favorite teas there is the cranberry hibiscus tea, which would come from this plant. Okay, we have papaya tree that's growing here between the sunchoke and the okra. Beautiful flowers. The okra has beautiful flowers, and the Star David okra is lining the whole perimeter here of the banana circle. I also have some beans that are mung beans that are growing up the okra, and when it gets to about this size here, it's ready to eat. Okay, even smaller. If it gets too large, it's going to be very woody. Alright, so the banana circle is doing well. Unfortunately, I don't have any bananas that are growing right now, but I should get some growing soon, hopefully. And you can see the sunchoke, beautiful flower from the sunchoke. And some health food stores, if you go in to their produce section, you will find those little sunchokes that you can eat. It's a little root vegetable. We got the collards are still growing well. The cabbage did really well this year. Corn, I have this beautiful ornamental japonica corn. It's a purple corn. It's just starting to grow here, and you can see the leaves on this. There's a little bit of purple here, and you have the white lines. So it's a very beautiful ornamental corn that you can eat. Here I have Thai basil. I plant this around the perimeter of the garden because it deters pests. It grows like a weed. It's very good for cooking, as well as it attracts a lot of pollinators as well with the flowers. This here is the black sugar cane, and it just started growing like crazy the past few weeks. It's almost as tall as me. I just recently planted this acerola Barbados cherry. I'm probably not going to get any cherries on them this year. We'll see. But it's doing well. And as we go through the garden, there's a lot of things that are on their way out, and then others that are just starting to mature at this time. So, you know, I have plenty of collards. They're doing really well. My kale and my chard are getting eaten and they're dying. So some things are not going to look as beautiful in the garden. The katuk, which is it tastes like peanut. It's a very tasty and high protein green that you can put in salads or even shakes. It's doing really, really well right now in the summertime. In the winter I thought it was dying, but it just needed to be patient. You can see the chard is getting eaten by bugs. There's still some great leaves that can be eaten here, and I just try to do my best. It's not a bad thing to feed some of the bugs. Just have them eat that and just leave everything else alone. I was really surprised to see my sun hemp, S-U-N-N, grow this tall. A lot of studies have shown that this can be used as a very productive cover crop. It's a nitrogen fixator. That's why I'm planting it close to the moringa tree. The moringa is growing super tall right now. I need to cut it back probably to about 6 feet or even below that. I'm working on a food dehydrator so I can dehydrate these highly nutrient packed leaves, and once I get that ready, I'll be trimming this tree and drying a lot of the moringa leaves. If you don't know about the moringa tree, just look it up. It's called the miracle tree, and it's very high in nutrients. It has more vitamin C than an orange, more potassium than a banana, and a lot of other nutrients. Can't wait for these guys to ripen. The oranges are doing really well, and I'm just gonna have to wait a few more months. When I got here in October, there were some that were ripe, so I'm thinking that probably about 3 months and they'll be ready. Again, you can see the sun hemp growing all the way up to there around the tree, helping to provide nutrients of nitrogen. We have the Mexican chaya growing, and this is very good when it's boiled and sauteed, because it has cyanide that will dissipate when you cook it. More of the false roselle, and you can see I have a few different varieties. This is the one that we were looking at before, right? And then if you look at this other one here, you can see that it's kind of look more lobed. It's not as the leaves aren't as sharp here. They're not as pointy. Okay, there's that one. So a few varieties. I have the Mexican sunflower as well. Now this can grow, I've seen them as high as, wow, like 20 feet. And they don't produce sunflowers, they just produce a little flower, but they're filled with nitrogen and potassium, and they have a lot of phosphorus. So you can use that for chop and drop to add nutrients to the soil. Okay, this time of year, wow, my Cuban oregano is growing like crazy. They call this a Cuban oregano. Other people call it Indian borage or some type of thyme, but it's highly medicinal, and it has thymol in it, which is an antimicrobial compound that was originally used in products like mouthwashes like Listerine, and also I believe the Gold Bond powder, because it also has antifungal properties as well. And for those who think that some cancers could be caused by fungus, or people who might have candida, this could be used to help you with that. It can be used to make teas, and you could also dry it and use it for cooking, like you would oregano. Here we have the comfrey. This is the Russian cultivar number 14. Very pest resistant. I've been chopping it up throughout the year and making basically making a liquid fertilizer. Just taking a bunch of the comfrey and chopping it up, putting it in water, and waiting a few weeks. And when it's ready, it smells like cow manure. Then you can just spread it and provide nutrients to the plants. Now I just spread that out and with my exfoliator spray just last week, and I've seen some great growth. I don't know if it's just from all the rain we've been having, but I also believe that the comfrey definitely helped provide nutrients for these plants and get them growing like crazy. Now the loofah, when you want to pick them is when it's brown, like you can see here, or tan, or slightly yellow. So these are some of the original ones that I had on here, and so I could take this off probably today and peel it, or just soak it in water, and I should have some great loofah sponges. It could be a good cash crop, because each plant could theoretically produce about 25 loofahs, and I have several of them growing right now around the garden. And since they're vining, you can pretty much just make a lot of trellises and columns and just produce them throughout the summer. The flowers are edible, and they grow throughout the life of the plant, so that's what makes the garden look so beautiful, is that I just constantly get these flowers every day. New ones are blossoming, and they're also attracting a lot of, there's one just flew by right now, a lot of pollinating insects. So I'll try this. Very good. And the Seminole pumpkin, the summer squash, all those, the flowers are edible, and they're very good for you. Here I have the black-eyed Susan, and it's just a flower that you can add to the garden, and I've been growing it up the bamboo trellis, and it's doing well. I also have the African bean that's growing. I believe it's the jack bean, and it's a white bean. It can be used to make tempeh. So I've been growing that, and hopefully I'll get enough beans so I can make some tempeh later in the fall. Alright, so that covers most of the garden, and I will give another update next month. And just one thing I've noticed is I've had this garden since January. All right, so in about just about 4 or 5 months. I turned it from a sandy yard that barely had grass growing in it, fire ants everywhere, and now, as you can see, it's a very lush, fertile, green habitat that's attracting all sorts of wonderful animals. The lizards love it, and I'm getting a lot of butterflies and birds and just beautiful creatures coming around, and turning this into a microclimate, because let's say a lot of the loofahs and the trees and the bushes, they seem to make it a little cooler here in the summer. I'm getting 90-degree weather right now. It's very hot during the day, but the plants do well. They might wilt a little bit, but at the end of the day they bounce back. Using the wood chips, a few inches of wood chips over the compost is helping to retain the moisture and keeping these plants alive throughout the summer. A lot of people do not grow their gardens in the Florida summer. They just take whatever is in there and they pull it out, and they might put a cover crop in or just cover it with plastic. But if you do it right, you should be able to have something growing in the garden in Central Florida throughout the entire year. So we'll be back again next month and give you an update. Hopefully we'll have some tomatillos growing and some more pole beans and other plants that I've been waiting on. So see you next month.